very proud to have been a public school teacher. I was also a public school parent, and I think that instead of saying saving public schools is how do we maintain the best of the best, and then how do we improve those that need extra support? Because I don't think they need saving in the strongest sense of the word. I think they need support, and they need equity of resources and many other things. So that's really the point from which I'm going to start the discussion. First of all, I think one of the things that I'm very committed to is that people matter. It matters what structures we have to be successful, but more importantly, we need to respect the people that are going to be in those structures. And I think for too long, people haven't mattered. So that's really when we started looking at how we're going to change some of the things in terms of how we evaluate schools and also concurrently how we support them. It's how do we respect the people who know what they're doing, and how do we sort of handle the people who may not know what they're doing, and it's a combination of those both. I think the other thing that for me, coming back to this job, that really convinced me to come back is that I think for too long we have focused on any changes we thought that had to happen in schools, not from the point of view of what happens in the classroom, but for everything around it. What does the district office look like? What does this, supervisory piece looks like? And to me, to make real change in education and to improve education, it's what happens in the classroom. Do you have the right teacher? Does the teacher have the right materials? Is there the right number of kids in a class? All that matters, and all that sometimes we don't look at. We look at a lot of other things, but we forget that the classroom is the nucleus of everything that we want to do.
There are ways of producing standards that are achieving these sort of two things simultaneously a bit, right? Achieving this body of knowledge through a method that also builds some of these things that we want kids to have in a more poetic sense or a more human sense, which is not being math-phobic, being uncowed by things, feeling like you can attack a problem, feeling like you have confidence in yourself as a learner, all of these other...
Exactly. And so you can actually take, whether you're taking math, whether you're taking literacy, whether you're taking science, whether you're taking social studies, whether you're taking music or art, there are certain skills in terms of a child being able to feel confidence, being able to problem solve, being able to critically think, having some resilience. There's ways that we have all learned to teach this work and to create enough support so that kids get to these skills, but they don't all learn in the same way and at the same time. And the reason I started by saying that in private schools, people have figured this out. In public schools, you can see all sorts of scopes and sequences that Carmen Farina and people have about some of this. But we don't dig down in terms of how do we make sure that there's a basic set of skills and knowledge kids need to know, and then make it a lot of fun for them.
Okay, let me just say this, because I would be a hypocrite if I didn't. I'm encouraged, because when we start thinking about, okay, well, how do we create this kind of a system? I'm encouraged by hearing the chancellor talk as an educator about what needs to happen, but knowing the current system and how far so many schools are from doing the things she talks about, I'm left wondering, well, how are we going to get there, right? And that, to me, is the work that I don't think we are grappling with sufficiently. There are 20 neighborhoods in New York City right now where less than 10% of the kids are reading at proficiency, right? Of all the kids there. There are a quarter of the schools in the city that are just not serving the kids well, right? By any means. Now, we can reject the past reform strategy, but we're gonna need a new strategy, right? And because this system is totally broken for most of the children it serves. So, and I would say part of the problem, because we've, think about it, we've been reforming school for, this is not new, this has been going on for a long time.
As Dana's book mentions,
exactly.
The history of American education is just the history of education reform.
So what's wrong? I would say what's wrong at a basic fundamental level is that the schools lack the capacity to meet the needs of the children, basically. And that those needs are educational, but they're also social, right? And it's figuring out how to do that. That's the real work. And how do we get the supports in? And that's why I would like to see leadership, because New York City could set an example for the whole country on how to do this. And that's what I'm hoping a mayor who says inequality is the #1 issue will actually lead us in doing.